The Tulelake camp was a federal work facility and internment camp located in Siskiyou County, 5 miles west of Tulelake, California. It was established by the United States government in 1935 during the Great Depression for vocational training and work relief for young men, in a program known as the Civilian Conservation Corps. The camp was established initially for CCC enrollees to work on the Klamath Reclamation project during World War II. In 1942, the Tulelake War Relocation Center was built next to the camp as one of 10 concentration camps in the interior of the U.S. for the incarceration of Japanese Americans who had been forcibly relocated from the West Coast, which was defined as an exclusion zone by the U.S. military. 2/3 of those incarcerated were United States citizens. Renamed Camp Tulelake, this facility was adapted in the wartime years to shelter Japanese American strikebreakers used against resistors at the main segregation camp, imprison Japanese American dissidents, and house Italian and German prisoners of war who were assigned to work as farm laborers in the region. After the war, on the 25th of April 1946, the camp was transferred from the Army to the Fish and Wildlife Service, which had managed it just prior to the establishment of the segregation camp. The 4 remaining buildings are being restored in a project to return the camp to its 1940s appearance. History. The Tulelake camp was built in 1933 as a public work relief program, part of the New Deal of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. The camp was one of several constructed for the Civilian Conservation Corps. This program provided 6 months to 2 years employment and vocational training for unemployed, unmarried men, ages 17 to 23 from relief families. The 23-building camp included a duck hospital, an administrative headquarters office, the supervisor's residences, and a lookout cabin on the bluff behind the refuge visitor center. Most of the buildings were constructed by the enrollees. Mexican-American stonemasons constructed more than 300 feet of rock wall around the refuge headquarters. The enrollees were paid $30 a month, $25 of which was sent home or put into a savings account. The program provided unskilled manual labor jobs related to the conservation and development of natural resources in rural lands owned by federal, state and local governments. Workers built water control structures of timber and concrete. The CCC camp in southern Oregon dug irrigation ditches, and overall increased the Clear Lake Reservoir's capacity by about 60,000 acre-feet. Soon after the United States entered World War II, the majority of enrollees left the camp to enlist, and it was closed in 1942. Camp Tulelake. The CCC Tulelake camp was next to the Tulelake War Relocation Center, which was built in 1942 for the internment of Japanese Americans evicted from the homes on the West Coast. Over time, it was used to segregate those interns suspected of disloyalty to the United States who were active in resisting camp authorities. In March 1943, over 100 men from the Tulelake Relocation Center were arrested and housed at the renamed Camp Tulelake after they had protested their unjust incarceration by refusing to answer, or answering no to the war relocation authorities' 2 clumsily worded questions on the loyalty questionnaire. While imprisoned at the maximum security camp, inmates completed around $2,500 in repairs to the abandoned buildings, including installing new stovepipes and repairing the sewer and electrical systems. After several months, they were either released back to the Tulelake Segregation Center or transferred to other facilities run by the Justice Department of the U.S. Army. Of all the wartime incarceration sites, Tulelake tells the most extreme story of the government's abuse of power power against people who dared to speak out against the injustice of their incarceration, said Barbara Take, whose mother was incarcerated at Camp Tulelake during World War II. The WRA also used Camp Tulelake as a shelter for 243 Japanese American inmates brought in from other concentration camps as strikebreakers. Hundreds of Tulelake prisoners were striking and refusing to work on the area farms. The strikebreakers were brought in to harvest the local crops and were paid significantly higher wages than what Tulelake inmates could earn. For the safety, they were housed at Camp Tulelake since 1994. Following the United States government formal apology for injustices in 1988 and payment in 1988 and 1992 of reparations to survivors of all the camps, the Tulelake Committee has sponsored the annual Tulelake pilgrimage. It has advocated for preservation of the entire Tulelake site, both the Tulelake War Segregation Center and Camp Tulelake. In December 2008, both sites were designated as part of the Tulelake Unit World War II Valor in the Pacific National Monument. Frank Tanabe. A notable internee was Frank Tanabe, who volunteered to serve in a mostly Japanese-American military unit, interrogating Japanese prisoners in India and China. When asked why he served in the same army that interned him, Tanabe replied, "I wanted to do my part to prove that UN was not an enemy alien, or that none of us were, that we were true Americans. And if we ever got the chance, we would do our best to serve our country." And we did. During the 2012 presidential race, Tanabe, who was then 93 and on his deathbed, gained wide publicity for having his daughter fill out his last ballot. He received mostly positive reaction for his patriotism. Tanabe died on October 24, 2012. His family declined to announce which candidate he voted for. Italian and German powers, with many local farmers and workers participating in the military during World War II. The Tulelake Growers Association petitioned the U.S. government for prisoners of war to help with the harvest. In May 1944, the federal government sent 150 Italian POWs to the area. U.S. officials converted Camp Tulelake to accommodate additional German POWs who were transferred from Camp White the following month. They set up fences, barbed wire, latrines, water lines, guard towers, and searchlights around the camp. At its peak in October 1944, the camp housed 800 German POWs. They helped plant, tend, and harvest onion and potato crops. The POWs lived and worked in the Tulelake area until the camp closed in 1946. Although some of the POWs applied for the lottery of local homesteads, in order to stay in the area, none gained a homestead. Proposed airport fencing. In 2012, Modoc County, California officials applied for a grant from the Federal Aviation Administration to fund a new 8 feet tall and 3 miles long fence around the nearby Tulelake Municipal Airport, to keep animals off the runway. The Tulelake Committee and related groups working to preserve the historical integrity of the former Tulelake War Relocation Center and related Camp Tulelake have opposed the airport fence. It would surround the site of most of the prison's barracks, nearly 46 complete blocks, and portions of several others, impeding visitors and desecrating the physical and spiritual integrity of the camp. The Stop the Fence at Tulelake Airport organization has explained, "A fence will prevent all Americans from experiencing the dimension and magnitude of the concentration camp where people experience mass exclusion and racial hatred." The opponents note that being excluded from the area would especially affect former internees and the descendants, who make regular pilgrimages to the former incarceration site and the specific assigned barracks. Those who make the pilgrimage want the ability to walk throughout the massive camp and imagine the experiences of the internees. They want to traverse the site to experience the dimension and magnitude of the place. To gain a sense of the distances family members walked in the daily routine to eat meals, attend school, to do laundry and use the latrines. They want to summon up the ghosts of the place, to revive long-suppressed memories and to mourn personal and collective loss. Actor George Takei, held as a child with his family at the concentration camp, has worked in support of the petition against the fence. Takei has said, "We must not permit this history to be erased and minimized by destroying the integrity of the site or making it inaccessible to future generations."